to drop in. Thank you for joining us on our product success session. Today, our topic is improving, that went a little bit too fast, improving product decision making. So the purpose of these sessions are really to discuss setup and implementation for ProdPad and share some best practices and functionality for success. So we do definitely promote and hope that you get as involved as possible as we have this session today. If you have any questions, if you want to talk, by the way, you can just raise your hand using the functionality in Zoom. If you're a little bit shy, then you can also use the Q&A or the chat section. But we're happy with whatever you guys want to do and however you guys want to get involved. Like I said, this is a place for you to discuss things with us directly, ask us questions, but also discuss things with each other. So if you feel like maybe you want to share something, as part of your experience, please go ahead and do so. My name is Andrea. I'm product specialist here at ProdPad. I too was a PM at some point in my life. A fun fact, I was the first ProdPad employee. As being the product specialist here, I am a ProdPad Pro. I support our community and I support our internal teams as well. And with me today is Emma, who's our customer success manager.
Hi everyone. So as Andrea said, I'm a customer success manager at ProdPad. Before joining the company, I actually was a customer myself. As a product manager in a learning tech company, I implemented ProdPad as we were implementing like product processes and getting those refined. So I've been a user of ProdPad as well. I also get involved in product tank meetups at Oxford, and before all of that I actually was involved in project management for my sins. So as Andrea said, in this session today we're going to look at how ProdPad can help you with improving your product decision making. We'll go through a couple of different areas covering different elements of decision making in product and product teams, how ProdPad can help you to make well-informed decisions, and also importantly how to document, track and share these decisions within your organization. We will mainly talk about software-based products, but equally this can be used for obviously hardware products and other products as well. So there's lots of decisions to be made about our products, and it's not easy making those decisions, whether it's what new product to build or new features you want to introduce or improve or even deprecate features and remove them entirely, or what feedback should be listened to. Lots of decisions to be made, plus they happen all over the place within organizations. They could happen over a coffee break, over the water cooler, also in meetings. We're all using lots of different tools on a daily basis where decisions might be made. So as well as lots of decisions having to be made, it's not always easy to actually share how you actually came to a decision with the rest of your business. And product doesn't work in a vacuum. Decision making is a team sport across the business. There's lots of stakeholders to make these decisions with and listen to insights. For example, sales and customer success will hear insights that need to be fed into product, as well as like support teams. The exec might have opinions as well. And often as product managers, we're making decisions on behalf of others, gathering all these insights, reviewing them, and making informed decisions as to the next steps. So gathering input from everywhere to make informed decisions is really critical, especially to help us all with avoiding our bias on decisions. And these are the sort of standard decision-making areas within product teams and where they might be documented. So these are ones we'll cover today, including like your vision for your product. That might also be the vision for your business as a whole if you've got one product. Your objectives for your business, as well as your product objectives. The roadmaps for your product and where the direction of the product is heading, as well as how you document decisions around discovery and lessons learned, and how you validate those ideas that you're going to proceed with into execution and delivery. And as part of all that, there's how do you prioritize these things as well. So first poll, well, second poll, because we did the first opening poll, is how much do you struggle with avoiding bias or opinion when it comes to making decisions? And Andrew's just pinged that for you. So we'll give you a few seconds to answer that one before we move on. And I think just on this point about avoiding bias, this is part of the reason why ProdPad is so useful. Is it helps you to remove some of that bias that sometimes comes into effect when you're making decisions around product, and helps you to explain why you are making certain decisions based on business objectives and customer problems, as opposed to what someone would like to do, or their bias in decision making. Andrew, have we got a couple of responses to that now?
We do. From what I can see, at least over 20 people, 25 people have answered.
Cool. Cool. And what does it look like? One response was
So
more popular?
Yep. So the number one response is a lot. Our decisions are often full of bias or opinions at 50%. At
Wow.
38%, we have a little, our decisions are sometimes, but not always full of bias. And at 12%, only 3 people answered, or 11% now. Not much. We are good at identifying and removing bias or opinions.
Oh, awesome. Well, good on those people. That's great. And hopefully ProdPad has helped you to achieve that in some way as well. So the first area around decision making is your product vision. So within ProdPad, we have our product canvases, which help you to document what this vision is and help you to share that across your exec, your product teams, sales, success, support, marketing, and so on, to make sure that everyone is on the same page when it comes down to the vision for the product, and who your customer target market is, and so on. So if we just jump into ProdPad, I'll show you where this is. So we've got 3 different levels of canvases depending on what plan you're on. You have the overall portfolio canvas, which is based on the lean business canvas model. We have default segments in here for you around like value proposition, customer segments, problems to solve, different things around cost structure and channels, revenue streams, and so on. So the basics to get you started. But if you have sort of other areas you want to document as your part of your vision, you can actually amend these as well. So if you haven't already had a look at this and updated it, then it's well worth taking a look. We also have this at the product line level as well. So this is on our advanced plus plans that you have the portfolio product line level. This is more of a condensed view than the portfolio canvas that we have. So you've only got really 4 segments here around your vision, the description of the product, product line, which is really important, making sure that everyone understands what the product line is, who it's for, and then similarly with strategy and value as well. So documenting at that product line level what the strategy is from a vision perspective. And then we also have the same view at the product level too. Exactly the same as the product line level. You've got your vision, description, strategy, and value. Again, just making sure that when people within the organization are talking about the product, whether that be selling it, marketing it, supporting customers, everyone's got the same shared understanding of the vision, what success looks like for that product, and importantly, like I think the description as well is pretty important, like what, give your elevator pitch for what the product is, making sure that everyone's singing off the same hymn sheet and is aligned. So by documenting what these decisions are around your vision in ProdPad, it makes sure that everyone has access to it. Most plans have unlimited reviewers, so everyone across your business can come into ProdPad and make sure that they understand what the product is and who it's for, keeping everyone aligned. So let's just get back. And then, so if the vision is at that higher level, then the objectives also are useful for documenting from the business perspective or the product perspective what your objectives are. And it's important to document these within ProdPad to show how they relate to the work on your product. So that's why we have them on the roadmap view, but I'll also show you the more recent view we've introduced for objectives. And this is important to document what your objectives are, because it's not only showing why you're building the things that you're building and why you're working on the products you are, but also making sure that when you're making these decisions that you're making them wisely. You're making the most effective decisions on how you're going to spend your time, both to solve customer problems and also your business objectives. So recently, we've introduced a separate view for objectives. So you can still add them on your roadmap cards like you used to before and edit them here, but we also have objectives and key results tab on the product level, product line level and portfolio level as well. And for Performance Plus plans, you can actually add key results as well. So the new sections in here, you can actually now add a description to your objective. So describing what that objective intends to do. And then you have key results as well, where you can map whether it's on track or behind, and also map those key results to the contributing roadmap cards as well. So trying to join up a little bit better the work you're doing on your roadmap with the objectives and key results for your business. So if anyone is interested in looking at that a little bit further, then let us know and we can talk you through that in more detail. So next poll is around whether you feel your organization is aligned around your product vision and strategy and how you currently achieve that. I think for ProdPad, obviously it gets a little bit meta because we obviously use ProdPad to document our vision for ProdPad. But because coming from a customer success point of view, I'm actively using ProdPad on a regular basis to make sure that I understand what our vision is, what our strategy is, so that I can help to communicate that to our customers as well. So I definitely feel like how we use ProdPad helps us to keep that communication clear within the organization.
So we do have responses coming in. For the first question, do you feel your entire organization is aligned? Nobody is completely aligned.
Okay.
71% said yes, but only somewhat. And 29% said no, not aligned. On that note, you guys may find helpful that we actually treat our teams as products as well. So if you are perhaps looking to align not just strategy across your product, but across your teams, we can always talk to you about that and share some blog posts that we've written around how we actually manage to align our customer team with the product team by treating the customer team as a product. If that makes sense, I hope that makes sense. Those are words altogether. And for the second question, what methods do you currently use to create that alignment? We have meetings as the number one answer at 85%. We then have roadmap, vision, open processes, and business model canvas with only one answer.
Oh. Very interesting results. And yeah, this is something that when I'm having calls with customers, it's not just about how to use ProdPad like functionality wise, but we can also help you if you're looking at our support with internally how you can align with teams as well. We've worked with different customers to help with that alignment of processes. We did our previous product success session was actually on standardizing product processes, so that might also be worth taking a look at too. So next up, you've got your vision clearly defined and documented and shared within your business, and your overarching strategy of your objectives, and what your product does, what sets it apart from competitors, who is it for, etc. But what about the ongoing updates? How are you going to make decisions about the direction of your product? And here comes the roadmap. So obviously, you're all familiar with ProdPad and our focus on outcome-focused roadmaps to help you make decisions on priority based on the problems that you're trying to solve for the customer, as well as your business objectives. So the cards represent the theme or initiative, which would be the high-level problem or need to be solved, and then you've got your business objectives as well. So you can basically combine both aspects and make it really clear within your business as to why you're building the things you're building, not just like a feature project plan about what features are being released, but everyone within the business can be really clear on what problems are you solving and why as a business are you spending time on that right now. To help with this, we've actually got priority scoring on the cards, and I might just jump in here. So I think priority scoring on the cards is pretty useful from a documenting decisions point of view, because it helps translate to other people within the business as to like maybe why certain things have been prioritized over others. So in this example, this card is high impact and low effort, and it's at the top of the now column. Whereas if we look over here in the later column, this card is high impact, but it's also high effort. So having these priority scores on your cards as well just helps internally for people that are just looking at the roadmap, your reviewers that have access maybe from other product teams, your exec perhaps, or marketing, sales. They can clearly see why an initiative has been prioritized over another one, even if, say, we're getting lots of feedback on the fact that we need support for third-party integrations, but it's going to take us a lot of effort for the same amount of impact as another initiative on our roadmap. So if you haven't looked at priority scoring your cards, it's definitely worthwhile. You click on the card and you can set the impact and effort level. It will pull through the same values as you've set the impact and effort score in your account settings, which you will see on your ideas as well, which we'll come back to as well. So question time around how often do you find yourself having to defend a product decision with other stakeholders? And I think, Andrea, from a ProdPad point of view, from a customer success point of view, I always have access to our roadmap as a reviewer in ProdPad, and I can access the roadmap and clearly understand, because we're set it around outcomes and also the sort of priority scores. We can clearly see why we've prioritized stuff. So I don't think we have the same sort of conflict that I've seen from other companies where how decisions are being made are less clear.
Yeah, definitely. And what's also really interesting that I think some people here might be interested in is the fact that we have an experimentation group where we've established essentially what that discovery looks like, and those stakeholders are from across multiple teams. So it has obviously Emma, myself, someone from data, and someone from development. So we all get together to sense check things and also keep everyone involved. And that's definitely really helpful as we run that discovery, not just to do that sense check, but also let everyone know what that process looks like and get all these teams involved. So product isn't a group that is shut down or blocked from anyone else. It's, if anything, a group that enables that communication and it enables everyone to maintain themselves informed as to what's going on. So we do have the answers also coming through now. With 42%, we have often feel confident I can defend decisions.
Nice.
Tied at 21%, we have don't feel confident that I can defend those decisions, and not often feel confident I can defend those decisions. And at 16%, I don't feel confident.
Cool. So yeah, so hopefully those that feel confident, hopefully ProdPad helps you to do that. For those that don't feel confident and you're already using the roadmap in this way, focus more around outcomes rather than features, then I think hopefully there'll be a couple of tips later on that we'll touch on around your ideas, workflow, and prioritization that hopefully will be able to help with that as well. So while the roadmap is focused on looking forward and the things you're going to iterate on next and experiments, different opportunities you're going to pursue, it's also important to measure the work that you've done previously and check that it had the effect that you hoped it would. So this is where completed cards come in. It's another column on your roadmap. And so within the card, you can document it. It says the date of completion, but importantly, it has a section for you to add details about the outcome of completing this card. So in this example, we thought that we'd get the conversion rate up, and the objective was to increase revenue, and it did. It actually did. It managed to increase it by 10%. So this is something that you can come back to once you're tracking once an initiative's been complete, and you can track those metrics and document in the completed card. And what this means is by keeping all of this lessons learned in the completed card, when you're looking at a roadmap moving forward, so say if you had another roadmap card coming up around and it had an objective of revenue, you can filter your completed cards by that objective and review the lessons learned, whether that be good or bad lessons, so then you can feed that into your roadmap moving forward. So by using completed cards alongside your main roadmap view, you're helping to feed into those decisions based on lessons learned previously, which is a very important thing to do. So poll time again. How often do you measure the success of your product decisions after the feature has been launched? Cool. And I know that, so Andrea, this is, like you said, with the experiments steering group, this is something that we've always tried to do, but we're always looking to iterate and how we can improve on documenting some of these successes as well within ProdPad, and making sure that we use those lessons moving forward as well with our decisions.
Absolutely. And for anyone that may be interested in watching our last webinar of February with Dave Martin, he actually talked through a lot about how to run experimentation, how to set success metrics. So it's really, really interesting. It is available in our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ProdPad. It's definitely worth looking at. So the answers are coming in. The highest response at 80% is not often, but we want to do it more. And at 10%, we have an equal number between often, both qualitative and quantitative measurements, as well as not often, and we don't plan on it. So
Okay.
At least 10% aren't actually planning on doing any sort of success metrics, which is interesting.
Interesting. Well, for those that are interested in how they can document lessons around measuring the success of those decisions, of the features you're building in ProdPad, and you want to have a chat, in the follow-up emails to this webinar, there'll be the opportunity to book a call with Andrew and I. So if you want to have a chat through and how ProdPad can help, we can dig more into the context of what you're looking to track in your product and your context and all of that. Then do book a call with us. We're always happy to talk these things through and help you figure things out. So you've got your roadmap, but how do you even know what ideas to prioritize and add to your roadmap in the first place? So this is where the ideas functionality in ProdPad comes in. So we with with ProdPads, the intention is that ProdPad can support with the discovery side and take out from the development backlog. So if you've got your development backlog in something like Jira, remove all those items that have just been added because they're an idea, someone had an idea or it's a potential opportunity, but it hasn't been prioritized, it hasn't got any flesh to the bones, it's just clogging up the development backlog, which should be focused on those ideas that have been validated, prioritized, and the decision has been made that you are going to execute on it. So one of the benefits of using ProdPad for your ideas backlog is that it keeps the discovery backlog separate from your development or your delivery backlog. So both can focus on doing what each separate bit does best. So not only does that benefit the development backlog with keeping it refined with just those validated, well-scoped ideas, but it keeps ProdPad being the source of the discovery backlog with your ideas, helps keep that discovery workflow moving. And I know this has been a problem for me before as a product manager, was I would often be a blocker to us delivering on features because I couldn't keep up with the discovery side. So using ProdPad in conjunction with Jira or another delivery tool, Trello, Azure DevOps, helps you to keep both things wheels moving at the same time, so you can work in that dual track agile way. So on our ideas within ProdPad, there's lots of space for you to document the decisions around the scope or the specs of the idea as it evolves. You can document how that the evolution of the idea in quite an open way, so you can update it, because ideas, you know, someone might have an idea and then that idea is reviewed initially, but maybe you don't get around to the discovery bit for a few weeks, few months. Maybe it's archived initially, you come back to it when it becomes a priority area. But we have like an audit revision history, sorry, so you can always track and see what changes have been made. You can revert back if necessary, and you can document, importantly, all of the information in one place on the idea. And equally, with having unlimited reviewers, which can be from your other internal stakeholders, everyone can have access and see and contribute. So all these insights that we said at the start that are all around your business and all these different decisions that are being made all over the place, you can consolidate that and have it all within ProdPad so that it's really easy to document how decisions have been made, whether it be like how much feedback you've added to an idea, so like evidence of need, attaching that feedback from your customers on their problems, helping to show that an idea is worthwhile pursuing, all helps to document these decisions based on the customer experience and problems rather than your own biases. And importantly, I think the discussion section is really useful in documenting this evolution, because rather than having decisions made in, like a lot of you said about you're having lots of meetings to help with alignment, in those meetings you might have a lot of decisions being made, but how do you then document those, what, you know, the date that it was made and how you came to that conclusion? By moving some of these discussions within ProdPad as well, not only does it help reduce meetings and help you all work asynchronously, rather than like if someone wasn't in that meeting, then their insights are then left. You can have all of this discussion within ProdPad, and this then helps you keep track of those decision points as well as people are contributing their insights and thoughts, and the idea evolves. You can keep track of that. And importantly, if you're using Slack, you might have, hopefully you've seen that we've got a new Slack integration as well. If you've enabled that new Slack integration, it also will pull through any threaded discussions into the app. So you can actually have these discussions within Slack. So this is great for getting people involved in like sales or marketing or the development team, where they don't necessarily need to log into ProdPad. They don't need to log into the separate tool. They can work in Slack where they're working day to day, and it's all captured in ProdPad for you as a product team. So question time again. How are you, well, do you capture and track assumptions made as part of your product decisions, and how do you test these? And I think, Andrea, we do this well, we try to do this quite well at ProdPad. We tend to talk in hypotheses quite a lot, and like you mentioned, we're doing a lot of experiments and trying to always make sure that we are validating our hypotheses and assumptions properly, and tracking these through retrospectives.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you can run experimentation, which we do. We do, of course, track data. We have retrospectives, so you guys can take advantage of either the notes section on ideas or the outcome section on both the initiative level and the key results level, so that you're able to have those retrospectives and have a place to write down all that information. One really important thing, it may sound ridiculous in a certain way, but just always keep asking yourself, is that an assumption? Or just make sure that you're stating, my assumption is this. Um, I find that since our new senior product manager started, both of us just keep saying, well, it depends because my assumption is blah, 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 blah. But at least we're conscious of what we're saying and we're setting those, those baselines. And we understand where we're starting from when we're looking to start an experiment. So the responses are coming in. I hope you guys aren't tired. It seems like we're getting less and less responses on each poll. But we promise this is all adding up to us being able to provide you guys with more helpful documentation, and future webinars and success sessions. That's why we're asking. It's really just so that we can help you in the future. So for the first question, do you capture or track assumptions made as part of your product decisions? 73% said yes.
Oh, great.
So yay.
Fantastic.
27, it just changed. 69% said yes, 31% said no. For the second question, how do you test or validate these assumptions? Number one is experiments, and tied at second place is data tracking and retrospectives.
Cool. So again, if you want us to talk through with you how you want to track these assumptions as part of your own product context and get into the weeds of it for your own organization, then let us know. We're always happy to help.
Someone just mentioned that there's no option for saying we don't validate assumptions.
Oh, that's true. Our bad.
Apologies.
So obviously, as part of scoping out the ideas within ProdPad, you can actually give a priority score similar to what we saw on the roadmap cards to each idea as well. So this is based on what you think their impact and effort is. You can, again, change the values, what I showed in the app. We've got t-shirt sizes here, but in this example here, it's like a Fibonacci scale. We've also got 0 to 10. So by scoring your ideas, it's really a useful way of being able to track decisions made around the impact and effort for these ideas, and therefore help with prioritization of those. And by having a unified understanding of what the impact and effort means for you in your business, it helps to also remove the biases as well. Or potentially, if you're getting told what to build from different people within the business with no sort of evidence of need or the impact and effort, then having this sort of part of your process too really helps to make sure you're making decisions for the right reasons. So this is a really good example from a customer of how they've defined their impact, and effort is on the next slide as well. So you can actually add these to your documentation tab. So let me just skip in here. So on your product in the documentation tab, you can add the impact and effort score definitions in here, so that you're sort of standardizing that and adding that context for your business, because every organization does priority scoring in a slightly different way. So we keep it nice and simple for you with that score, but you can have those internal definitions as a reference as well. And what this all means is that you get a lovely chart view of your ideas all together, that shows you where your quick wins are versus your time sinks, and importantly, just where the spread of your ideas are that have been scored. This is quite a nice even spread, but if you saw that actually most of your ideas are in the time sink section, then maybe that's something to look at. And importantly, you can then filter down on this view. So if you were looking to, say if you had a roadmap card around increasing revenue and you had a persona that had purchasing power, and you wanted to find what ideas weren't on your roadmap yet, but that were connected to that persona, you can filter that down and you can see where the ideas sit on that impact and effort view, and then review which ones you might want to add onto your roadmap. So this is a fantastic different type of view, like quite a, Andrew will laugh when I say visual view, but of course it's a visual view, but quite a different
I am
view than our
laughing.
list. Yeah, quite a different view to our list view, to help you really see clearly that spread of ideas and where they've going to be quick wins versus your time sinks. So next poll time is, do you find it more difficult to assess the value of a feature to your business or the value to your customer? So is it more difficult to score that impact versus effort, I guess?
I know you laughed the word visual, but I I understand what you meant. And
Yeah.
one thing that I find really helpful with that chart, hopefully everyone's already discovered this, but the not updated recently predefined filter is a great way of looking at items to be nurtured, and consider. I know that you're about to pop it up. So you've got this filter called not updated recently, and it'll look at all ideas that are over 4 months. It is likely that those ideas were accepted in the backlog and maybe didn't have enough information, at which point, you can take that opportunity to nurture that backlog. Or perhaps, for whatever reason, the impact and effort wasn't scored properly, you need more information, whatever it might be that has kept those ideas from moving forward. You can, like I said, nurture them at the point and add any more info, or perhaps it's something that is not even valid anymore, and can be archived.
Mm-hmm.
So for the answers that came through, the question was, do you find it more difficult to assess the value of a feature to your business or its value to your customers? 56% answered more difficult to assess business value, and 44% said more difficult to assess customer value.
Interesting. So kind of, I mean, it's
It's
near enough
almost a
even split.
50-50. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. It'd be very interesting to dig into that a bit more. I think maybe that's a topic for another session. So the workflow is, if you've ever been on a call with me, I will always tell you that the workflow is a really important area to update. So the workflow view in your ideas section really helps you to make sure that you've got a really transparent ideation process for your whole organization. So this will help you to battle maybe any like features or ideas that come through and try and jump the queue. If you've got a defined process that you always follow to validate those ideas, so making sure that you're doing proper discovery, and making sure that you've got an evidence of need for those ideas that you're looking to build and move into the development process. This will help you keep honest to that process, and importantly, help to communicate to other stakeholders on those decisions so that they understand. So I've heard of backlogs be called all sorts of lovely things before, one of which was graveyard of dreams, where ideas go to die. And you'll all have heard similar things, and maybe you've got negativity in that sense in your organizations too. And I think part of the reason that it's called that is because there isn't this transparent process of how do we validate ideas and move them through the workflow. So your salesperson, your customer success person just feels like they're not being heard, whereas actually they are, and product are building things all the time for customers. The workflow will help you to show that to your other stakeholders as well and keep those decisions really clear. So if you haven't already updated your workflow, it should include 3 main areas: your discovery stages. So in this example, we've got assessment and discovery, but you might also have like specific stages like user research, priority scoring, sprint planning, whatever it may be. You've then got your development stages, which should be, if you've got an integration with something like Jira or Trello or Rally, wherever you're doing your development work, where your development backlog sits, these can map to those statuses in those tools so that everyone can clearly see without going into Jira the stage of a idea. And then post release, how are you reviewing what feedback you get on those new things you've released to feed back into that feedback process. So if you haven't already updated this, I would really recommend you do. I'm always happy to chat about this because I'm really passionate about the workflow. And also importantly, you can reorder these to show priority. They move around. In fact, let me just quickly show you. Not wrong view.
Emma doesn't know
Oops.
this, but our internal joke for her is Emma likes a good workflow.
I do. It's really important. So yes, you can move them around to show what the order of importance is as well. And on that same theme, we've got lots of different integrations with all of the different types of development tools or delivery tools you might use, and also tools like you're using for discussions, like we talked about Slack here as well. So by integrating with these tools, we help you to keep all those decisions all in one place within ProdPad and then reflect how those decisions are then sent elsewhere. But at least you've got that single source of truth so everyone can understand how decisions were made within ProdPad rather than them being hidden. If you haven't set up an integration yet, and you're on Essential Plus plans, then let us know. We're happy to help with that. We've seen most customers be successful by setting up this integration and joining up the dots between discovery and development. Question time. How much support across your organization do you have for experimenting and iterating?
So while you guys answer the poll, a couple of people have asked what influences the size and the colors on the chart, the priority charts. So the size is influenced by essentially how much information the idea contains. That ranges from the attributes like does it have a title? Does it have a description? The size of the description? Does it have a business case, or does it have that problem statement? And the value statement, does it have any personas, tags? Is it connected to a roadmap or not? Does it have any feedback? Are there any discussion? Things like that. The algorithm is by no way, by no means perfect in any sense. We're always, improving it and making sure that it does make sense for the way that our customers work. And then the color is related to the last time that idea was interacted with. So any idea that is updated or newly created will start as hot pink, and then as time goes by, they will eventually start fading out to gray. So it gives you that, again, that visual cue, that elements that just very quickly lets you know these are fresh, these have been interacted with in one way or another. And as time goes by, you can then use that preset filter of not updated recently, which will show you anything that is older than 4 months. So we do have responses now coming through for the poll. Oh, one more. So the question was, how much support across your organization do you have for experimenting and iterating? At 44%, not at all. Oh, I'm sorry. At 28%, we have sometimes we have separate experiments we run. At 17%, we have not at all. It does not work in my organization. And at 11%, we have lots. So apparently only 2 of you can really run experiments.
Yeah, interesting. And I know that through speaking with lots of different product organizations, both from ProdPad and also like meetups and conferences and things, like I think just the term, like the words experiments and iterating is quite like a scary one, especially if you've got to like report on like prospected like income and revenue for certain periods you're reporting to boards and stuff like that. It is difficult to get across the benefits of experiments and iterating. If ever you want any support from ProdPad on like the business case for that and how ProdPad can help you to move towards that kind of approach, then we're happy to help with that. So the final section is around feedback. We did do a whole, we dedicated a whole success session a few months back on managing feedback. So I'm not going to delve too much on the specifics, but there is the recording is in the help center if you do want to look at it. Or if you have any questions, reach out to us. We're happy to help. But feedback is a really important part of decision making for your product, as it helps to document and understand the problems of your customers, which then helps to grow your ideas in your backlog and help with the prioritization and making sure you're spending time effectively, really, and making good product decisions to solve your target customer problems. So you can add feedback into ProdPad on lots of different ways on behalf of your customers. So stakeholders can add it directly into ProdPad. As I mentioned, we've got that Slack integration. So if sales, success, support are using Slack, they can just add feedback that way. We also have a Chrome extension, which I can show you here, which this is what I use the most for giving feedback from customers. So if I've ever said to you, I've shared feedback, this is how I've done it. I use the feedback through the Chrome extension because I'm always on my browser. So it's just a really quick, easy way to do it that way. Oh, didn't mean to do that. And we also have, through the Zapier integration, you can connect to things like Zendesk, which I know Andrew's talked to before on our previous webinar as well. And we also have help center articles on that too. So basically, however you're already collecting feedback or wherever the feedback's coming in, we help you to consolidate that into ProdPad and allow you to attach the feedback to ideas. So this is what you can see here. These are all the different pieces of feedback that relates to this idea. So we've got 12 pieces of feedback, and you can actually also dig into where that feedback's come from, specific job roles, personas, company values, if you're on Advanced Plus plans, for example. So by adding feedback into your ProdPad instance as well, it helps you to join those dots between those customer problems that you have and your business objectives, your top-down stuff that comes from some of the vision and the objective stuff that we touched on before, and even the ideas, like if they're coming from within the business rather than externally. It helps you to join all the dots together and make sure you're making effective decisions, including your customer feedback as well. And I lied, there's one last thing to think about is personas. So if you're finding it difficult to keep focused on who you're making decisions for, like making sure it's your target customer audience rather than necessarily just any feedback that comes in, I think personas are really useful for this. We have personas have their own section where you can document all of your personas, and you can add their behaviors, goals, frustrations, and limitations, for example, and then you can attach these to your ideas and feedback. And this means you can then filter down both ideas and feedback by specific personas. And importantly, when you're just reviewing feedback, or if you're on a specific idea and you're like scoping it out, it helps keep you honest and look at like who's going to be affected by this idea. Who do we need to bear in mind as we're scoping this idea out? So if you haven't looked at personas yet and it's something of interest, they are really useful to keep you on track and make sure you've got those target customers in mind. So we covered quite a lot, and there's there, like I set out at the start, there are so many different decisions that need to be made within product teams and within product organizations, but these are some of the key benefits, I think, of documenting those decisions within ProdPad. So it's really inclusive because as a product tool, we really believe that in collaboration with product teams shouldn't work in isolation. You rely on information from other teams. So by having all of those decisions documented within ProdPad, you're making it really inclusive for the whole business. And part of that is by opening up those processes and making it really transparent so that other colleagues, whether that be sales, success, marketing, etc., can take part and understand the process, understand how product makes decisions and how best they can feed into that. And importantly, and something we often see when customers are first adopting ProdPad, is helping to standardize and align these processes. So often we're working in silos. Even different product teams within one organization might be doing things in different ways, but ProdPad's really powerful in helping you to align those and make sure that you're all working the same way, so that all decisions and all ideas have a fair chance, because you're standardizing that workflow that we looked at, how ideas are validated, what's the discovery steps. And it's accessible. ProdPad, whereas other tools within your business like Jira, for example, they're not very accessible, they're not very easy for colleagues outside of product or development to really access, whereas ProdPad is targeted to make that information really accessible to all within your organization. And finally, we help you to join the dots together. By integrating with those other tools, you can document those decisions in ProdPad, have that as your record, single source of truth, and then share those decisions made with the other tools. So happy to answer any questions, or if you have any examples to share of how you've been using some of the things we talked about in ProdPad, then now's your chance to share those with us. And equally, if not, before you go, we've got just one final poll for you, just to understand whether this was useful to you, so that we can make sure that ongoing these are as useful as they can be for you.
We did have one question, which is this being recorded? Absolutely, it is. And we will be sending out the recording over the next week or so. So don't worry, you can always watch it again. Does anyone have any other questions about anything we've discussed today? I am glad to see most of you are finding this useful and nobody has answered not useful.
Well, that is good.
We've got a shy group of people today.
That's okay. So even if you're not happy with putting something on the chat or in the Q&A today, we're always happy to help. We're really easy to contact whenever you're in the app. You can start a conversation with the team. It doesn't just have to be on the functionality, it can be on some of the approaches that we've discussed today. And we have lots of information in our help center as well, which should be helpful to you.
Someone is asking if there's any way to integrate ProdPad with Miro. We are big fans of Miro. We do use it quite a bit over here. If you're looking to integrate some sort of, what do they call it, a board that you've created, we do support linking third-party applications from the designs section. So you can always go to designs, click on add a design, as Emma is showing, click on wireframe, and then just drop in that link, and that will make, if you scroll all the way down under generic link, you'll be able to post that directly, and it'll just be accessible from the designs tab. So I think that would be probably the best way of doing it, and make that accessible to the rest of your team. So I hope that helped. Do you have guidelines for impact scoring? For instance, what is impact of 20 versus 40? We do have, as Emma shared, some examples of other customers, and how you can set that. One thing that I always recommend is when you are setting the impact and effort, try to consider beyond just your development team or your product team. I think a lot of people get a little bit bogged down when it comes to all these data points that they have to have. So things like weighted scoring, and I have to have all these inputs and all these numbers, but they don't really, first of all, that's too many inputs. You're limiting yourself by the amount of inputs. And it really sometimes tends to focus solely on the product and development teams. When you release something new, you're impacting support and marketing and sales and success and your customers. So prioritization by no means is an exact science. Nobody gets it right. That's okay. But you can have certain guidelines, to kind of help navigate that a little bit. And the more you work with your team, the more you get to know your customers, the more you get to know your product, the closer you'll get to getting to something that's as accurate as possible. but it's okay for for you to not get it right the first time around, or for something to have gone wrong. That's why you set success metrics and baselines, and kind of go from there. Any other questions? It looks like that is it.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. As Andrew said, the recording will be sent out in the next couple of days. And yeah, reach out to us if you have any questions, and in the follow-up emails as well, there'll be the opportunity to book a call with us. So if you want to talk with any of us in more detail about your, how you can approach this with your own context, then that will be opportunity to do so, or reach out in the app like I mentioned. But have a good rest of your week, and thanks for joining the call today.
Thanks, everyone. See you next time.